So Dylan had a question about this source-based question on a political cartoon. I thought I'd just record a quick video to talk about what he can do to improve his answer. So let's just start with the source itself, as well as the question. Okay, if we look at the source, this is a political cartoon that appeared in Newsweek magazine in August of 1990. So the first thing to take note of is the provenance, which is this part over here. Take note of the date of the political cartoon and where it appeared. So the date here is August 1990. We don't know exactly what date, but we know that it probably was published right after or before, likely to be after the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. And it appeared in Newsweek magazine, which is a very popular magazine in the West. It's an American publication distributed to an international audience. All right. So you would be thinking at the back of your head that people around the world, members of the international community, would be looking at this political cartoon. Let's move on to the cartoon itself, okay? And remember that the big issue is what caused the Iraq-Kuwait conflict. If you look at the cartoon, look at the orange arrows that I put in here. When we look at political cartoons, it's important to know the symbols that the cartoonist has chosen and what the symbols represent by relating it back to whatever happened in reality. So the reality here is that Kuwait was invaded by Iraq. All right. So we look at this in totality, and the setting of this cartoon is in a restaurant, right? Over here you can see on the window it says Mid-East cuisine. And who's dining here? The person who's dining here is Saddam Hussein. Okay? You know it's Saddam Hussein because it's a caricature of him, and he's wearing a bib that says Iraq. Look at what he's doing. Okay? He is actually carving up a stick called Kuwait. Right? So what does this represent? What does this symbolize? Iraq is basically eating up Kuwait, right? And you see here at the side, there's this wine bottle that's labeled oil. Basically, the cartoonist is saying that Iraq wants Kuwait's land and her oil, right? So this is taking place in the foreground. Now, in the background, what do we see? We see this man over here, this very burly man, okay, labeled Saudis. So this represents, that's right, Saudi Arabia. And you notice that he's perched on the dessert cart or the dessert trolley. Okay, what does this represent? What does this mean? Saudi Arabia is the dessert, right? And there's this waiter here. He's saying to the Saudis, you better hope he's too full to ask for the dessert cart. So what's the message here? What does this mean? The cartoonist is suggesting that, that's right, Iraq may possibly move on to Saudi Arabia, to invade or take Saudi Arabia after having had Kuwait. Okay, so we will piece this together. What does it mean? What's the message of the cartoonist? He's actually telling the international audience, or rather trying to persuade the international audience, the people who read Newsweek, international community, that you better hope that Saddam Hussein is that Kuwait is enough for Saddam Hussein and that he wouldn't go on to take over Saudi Arabia as well. That is the message. Well, what does he want the target audience to do, having looked at this political cartoon? What do you think? Yes, possibly, having looked at this cartoon, to put pressure on the UN to intervene, right? To stop Iraq, to stop Saddam Hussein, so that Saudi Arabia, more countries, would not be at risk of invasion by Iraq. Possibly, right? Or to influence the international community to pledge their support to the USA to lobby for a UN Security Council resolution to drive Iraq out of Kuwait, so that he wouldn't have the opportunity to go on to take other countries like Saudi Arabia. Possible, right? So let's look at Dylan's answer. Dylan's answer here says, the cartoonist wants to convince the international community. Now the question is, why did the cartoonist draw this cartoon? So when the question says why, you need to use the word because. Alright? So I would change the first sentence here to, the cartoonist drew this because he wanted to convince the international community, okay, that blah blah blah. Then I'll insert the message of the cartoonist. So here Dylan has said, Iraq has feuds with Kuwait regarding the stealing of Iraq's oil through Salant drilling. Now that is, of course, a given. They are having a feud, and that is not regarded as a valid interpretation because it is superficial information. Okay? Now, so this would get L11. Okay, this answer will get L11. Okay, in context of the Iraq and Kuwait war, the cartoonist wants the international community to go in against Iraq so as to prevent greater harm between two countries, so that peace will prevail. This will be L2. This last sentence would get L2 for unsupported inference of message. Okay, so a good answer would be something like, the cartoonist drew this because he wants to convince or persuade the international community that Saddam may not stop at taking over Kuwait, so that the international community would pressure the United Nations to approve the entry of UN peacekeeping forces to free Kuwait, or to intervene in the conflict between Kuwait and Iraq, so that other countries like Saudi Arabia would not be at risk of invasion by Iraq as well. And then you go on and explain the different parts of the cartoon. It looks something like, from the way the cartoonist draws Iraq eating up Kuwait, with oil as a accompanying beverage, and the Saudis being perched on the dessert cart. Okay, this suggests that Iraq is eating up Kuwait and may move on to the Saudis, to Saudi Arabia. So this is a warning Okay, so the cartoonist drew this because he wanted to give a warning to the international community that if Saddam Hussein or Iraq is not stopped, he might go on to other countries in the Middle East. Okay, so and then you round off the answer by saying, oh, he's doing this so as to convince the international community to pressure the United Nations to intervene in the conflict between Iraq and Kuwait, to force Iraq to withdraw from Kuwait so that the Middle East peace would be protected. Something like that. That would get you high level marks. Okay. So I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, please call me, or you can email me at karen@learnmojo.com. Thank you.